I'm Giselle, and I'm so excited to be sharing a lecture that I gave at the beginning of May. It's been almost a month since I did this lecture. It was at the Carolina Friends School, organized by one of my lovely homies, Na. Hey Na, shout out to you. This is a talk that I gave about representation and gentrification in the alternative food movement. So I hope y'all enjoy it. Let me know what you think about the video. And I am excited to share it with you.
Also known as OG Blueberry Bush, is a healer, amateur yogi, master gardener, kinetic writer, and kinetic writer based in Durham, North Carolina. She actively utilizes gardening, food movement, and communication as primary venues for healing and value creation. Giselle graduated with honors from UNC Chapel Hill in 2017, where she studied cultural anthropology with a special focus on community food systems and gentrification in the alternative food movement. In 2015, she founded Herban. Am I saying that right?
The H is silent.
Urban.
It's debated. Some people say Herban, like herb, or herb.
What do you say?
I say urban.
All right, urban. A people of color-led gardening and wellness collective based in Chapel Hill that facilitates the creation and maintenance of gardens and food projects throughout the Triangle. Giselle will begin her studies as a doctor of neuropathic medicine this fall in 2019 with her intention set to create the Roots Firm, a lifestyle consulting firm that coaches people who are transitioning to a plant-based holistic life. To learn more about Giselle, visit ogblueberrybush.com. Thank you.
So today I have the great pleasure of sharing some pearls that I've picked up along my journey as a student of life, as a student at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, as a student of Durham, as an observer, and how what I have experienced in my studies, what I've experienced in the community has really been the fuel for the creation of Herban, the gardening collective that Na decided to talk about. So I want to start by setting up some context about how we got to where we are, how we got to creating the tribe that we are that's constantly expanding in this realm of the alternative food movement. And we're going to start at this place called Angier. And I know many of you have heard of travel down Angier Avenue in East Durham. So I want you to just take your mind into that space right now, Angier Avenue, and which I like to call the last frontier. And this is going to be a presentation about representation and gentrification in the alternative food movement. So when we think about the food movement, when we think about the alternative food movement, there are some buzzwords that come to mind. We have urban farming, we have food justice, community-supported agriculture, lots of buzzwords that are really rampant and trendy right now. And I was curious about what would come up if I typed some of these words into Google. So when I typed food desert into Google, this is what came up. We have corner stores, beautiful brown and black children. So I just want you to sit with these images for a second. And then I said, okay, what if I typed in food justice into Google? What images would pop up? And this is what we found. So notice the contrast. When we type urban farming and food justice into Google, we see images of people jumping, white people eating lettuce, farmers markets. And I encourage all of you, when you get home, just do some Google searches to see what's represented when we type these words in. So this brought up a whole series of questions about representation. We can go to the next slide. And this, I'm not the only person, I'm sure, that has observed a pattern of representation or lack of representation of people of color in certain spaces when we think about community gardens, when we think about farmers markets. So here are what some people in the field have to say about this pattern. That while the city's population is mostly black, the majority of adults who lead the Greening of Detroit, the nonprofit that houses the Garden Resource Program, are white. Next quote. It's a good project, but how do we get past the fact that the farmers are young and white with money? Next quote. Very few people of color run these urban farms, and for the most part, participants are non-white. Last quote. Many events that I go to centered around urban farming tend to be homogeneously white. So what are we getting at here? That the beautiful community food projects that we see in Durham, there's a pattern of leadership being white, but that the communities that they serve being people of color. So I decided to dive down this rabbit hole a little bit and see if I could see some more patterns and find some case studies of this in Durham. Next slide, please. The reason that this pattern is so significant is that food insecurity disproportionately affects people of color. This we know, and that's why we have all these initiatives to help try to solve the problem. But the issue is that the alternative food movement is dominated by white cultural practices and discourses, which points to something that Kamal was talking about, that how can we create a project that doesn't reflect the culture and the history of the people that we're trying to serve? It doesn't resonate. And again, these white-led community food projects are targeting communities of color, and it fails to represent the needs, the wants, the culture, the history of the people that it claims to serve. And this is not a coincidence. This is intentional, and it has a lot of implications for food security in communities like mine. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to take a moment to pull up some visuals to visualize the food deserts and food insecurity in Durham. So in the middle, you'll find this image here. This is Durham County. And to the right, this is right, or your left. That one over there. So to the left, this is a chart of supermarkets that are within 1 mile of the neighborhood. So basically what I want you to get from this is that the darker the blue, the closer the supermarkets are. The lighter the blue, the farther the supermarkets are. And the orange means that it's a food desert, you ain't gonna find nothing that's nourishing for you there. So notice that we have a lot of dark blue over here. This is west side of Durham. This is Duke University right here. And notice on the east side we have lighter blue. And here we have a food desert in bright orange on the east side of Durham. So just take a moment to soak in that. I'm gonna twirl back over to your right. And this map right here shows the percentage of the black population in Durham County. So what I want you to get from this is that the darker the blue over here, that means it's almost 100% black. The lighter the blue, less black people living there, okay? So you notice we have dark blue, again, on the east side. And also what I want you to take note of are the pink dots. The pink dots on this graph means that that's where a supermarket is. So as you can see, there's a ton of pink dots on the west side of Durham. And we got 2 pink dots on the east side of Durham, which corresponds to almost 100% black population. Next slide, please. So again, this is a zoomed in look of East Durham, the neighborhoods that you'll find in East Durham, and the percentage of races that live in East Durham. So we see that East Durham is almost 75% people of color, almost 50% black. You're good. We can go to the next slide. Zooming in a little bit further, give you all some more context. As I was going down my rabbit hole, I took some pictures of some things that you'll find in East Durham. So here we have a convenience store. This is actually on Main Street. These 2 photos where they just opened up, where the Carrick is, they moved the locations over there. So this is along that street. We can go to the next slide. And this is also on that street. And over here is a little church that is across the street from the community farm where I did my research case study. So that's a little black church. We can go to the next slide. And this, my friends, is an introduction to the Andrew Avenue Neighborhood Farm. So this is the Andrew Avenue Neighborhood Farm. It was founded back in 2011 as an effort to address food insecurity. We can go to the next slide. And when I was thinking about the Andrew Avenue Neighborhood Farm, I asked myself the question, is this farm and the leaders of this farm, is the foundation of the farm representative of the culture and history of the people that live here, being that this neighborhood is 100% black, okay? So when I typed in Angier, the name of the farm, into the internet after doing some digging, I found that the Andrew Avenue Neighborhood Farm is named after this gentleman, Malborn Addison Angier. Malborn Addison Angier was mayor of Durham for 5 years back in the day. He was a businessman, a politician, and he was a major benefactor of Duke University. So I was like, okay, cool. Let's take it a step further. Who is he? Who's in his network? Who's he related to? We can go to the next slide. And I found out that Sarah P. Duke is his daughter. Fascinating. Not only is Sarah P. Duke the daughter of Malborn Angier, but she is married to Benjamin N. Duke. So we got a nice little family tree that we're plotting along here. And she's the namesake of Duke Gardens. We can go to the next slide. Continuing down the family tree, so this is the son-in-law of Malborn Angier, Benjamin Duke, and his brother, James Buchanan Duke, and together they were major tycoons of the tobacco industry here in Durham, and eventually their tobacco empire evolved into what we now know as Duke Energy, the power company. So we're putting all these things together and starting to see a little bit of interesting connections. We can go to the next slide. And who's their daddy? Their daddy is George Washington Duke. He is the start of their tobacco empire. He also served in the Confederate Navy, and again all these beautiful human beings came together to found Trinity College, which we now know as Duke University. So as we see in doing some digging behind the name of Angier, we find all these connections and all these interesting foundations of the history in the name, just in the name. So then I said, okay, well, this is the history in the name of the farm. Who owns the farm now? Let's go to the next slide.
For a while now, we've had our eyes on a vacant lot in the neighborhood that is 3 times the size of Tucson.
So why does all this matter? Why does it matter that most community food projects are led by white people but serve black people? Why does it matter that the Andrew Avenue Neighborhood Farm has a legacy in the Confederacy and tobacco tycoons and a monopoly over energy in North Carolina? It matters because how can we serve if we're not connected? How can we serve if the history doesn't resonate? And this is critical because Durham is continuing to expand. Neighborhoods are continuing to be gentrified. And we're continuing to perpetuate a legacy of whiteness, which is congruent with the legacy of ownership and power, and continuing to perpetuate a legacy of blackness that's in connection with servitude and dependence. And in order for us to really bridge the gap and truly serve in the capacity that I'm sure we all envision, we have to create space for people of color to be leaders and be in charge and be at the helm of serving themselves, providing for their own needs, and really supporting that work. And we're never going to solve food insecurity if we approach service and community food work from this position of white leaders, black dependents. It's not going to work. It's not going to resonate. It's not going to fix anything. So now that we've created the context, and after my heart was open and tender, after finding out all this information when I did this case study, I was sitting, my heart heavy, and I said, nothing's going to change if I sit, so what can I do? And alas, I stood up with my vision, and I stepped forth to create what we know as Urban. We can go to the next slide. Go to the next slide, please. So Urban, here's where the joy enters our hearts again. So Herban is a gardening collective that I founded back in 2014, and we co-create community food projects through fellowship, education, and gardening. And what is so fantastic about Herban is that it is strategically designed to engage people of color and train them to be the next gardeners, farmers, and leaders in the alternative food movement. We can go to the next slide. So we do lots of things, but this is how we like to paint a picture of what we do. So I'm going to take you through this beautiful maze. Tap into my inner child when I create this diagram. I hope you all appreciate it. So here we have a person that may be curious about gardening. I hear that so often. People on my network say, well, I want to garden. It seems interesting to me, but I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, no problem. So say that's you. You're here. And you meet one of us, the Herban Tribe. And we welcome you into our network. So what we do is we document our work, share our work, and curate our work through online platforms, through social media. We also do hands-on gardening in the community with kids. We also do fantastic gardening projects from growing microgreens and making crate gardens and experimenting with different growing methods that can be done like in the kitchen or in a dorm room, because we do work with a lot of students. We also do community plantings over here with folks like the Marion Cheek Jackson Center in Chapel Hill. And we also have a larger vision to create a off-grid homestead and eco-institute where we can expand our work and connect with other people of color that are interested in living off the grid and being self-sufficient human beings. So here we have, again, you, who may not know anything about gardening. We take you into our world, into our universe, and alas, you come out super woke, ready to grow your own. See the crown? Next slide, please. So what does this look like on the ground? What do we do? So we do kids summer camps. This is a camp that we did in collaboration with the Street Scene Teen Center in Chapel Hill. Next slide. We do lecture series, one that we call Urban Soapbox that we've done in the past, where Kamal Bell was actually one of our speakers. This is him up here. And Jason Brown, who's amazing, a former NFL player turned farmer who's creating all kinds of magnificent change in the community. Next slide, please. And this is from a lecture series that we've done recently with Chantel Johnson, who is the founder of Off-Grid in Color based in Salisbury. Magnificent human being. She has a homestead retreat coming up, so if you want to learn about what it's like to live off-grid with no water, electricity, and how to forage for wild vegetables, like this is something you need to do. Get in touch with her. Next slide, please. And we also do gardening workshops. Next slide. We do cooking workshops. You see some of our members sitting over here in the corner teaching folks how to cook. Next slide. We do healing workshops, mindfulness workshops, yoga, making tinctures, working from the inside out. Next slide, please. And perhaps my favorite thing that we do every year, we're on our third year, is the Herban Summer Internship, where we have a 4-week festival of what it's like to be on the ground doing this work, organizing and gardening. And I'd love to share a little video with you to give you a snapshot of what the Herban Internship is all about. Giselle, whether it be a OG blueberry bush, the Herban, here reporting live from the garden. my plug that if you know any young people that are interested in just being about this life, tell them to come talk to us. Go to the next slide. Alas, so thank you all for sharing this space with me. If you're interested in following our journey, you can find us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, at UrbanUNCCH. You can contact us by email, urbanunc@gmail.com. And if you would like to support our internship this summer, our internship actually starts in 2 weeks. We have a whole brand new cohort of interns coming in. If you want to support us in that process, you can donate to us on Venmo. Here's our tag handle. And we also sell products, smudge sticks, tinctures, teas that I brought some with me today. So that is also a very beautiful way to support our work. So thank you all so much. And I want to leave you with a question that we're all going to talk about when we break off into our groups. And my question to you is, what is your vision for community? And what's stopping you from living that vision now? Thank you.
If you like this video, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think, how you've observed patterns in the food movement, in the alternative food movement. Let me know how you're engaging, what you're creating to make this world more representative of people of color growing food and farming and out here healing. You can follow me on social media, OG Blueberry Bush on Instagram, Giselle Weather, Facebook. Go to my website, ogblueberrytree.com. I got blogs up there, more content coming. So thank you all for being a part of this journey. Thank you all for watching, and I look forward to letting you all see what my world is like being a amateur yogi, kinetic writer, proponent of the plant-based lifestyle. We out here.